Good morning and welcome to the porch. Well, it's time to do another video this morning. This is Sunday morning. I try to do these either on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, then usually edit them and get them out by Sunday afternoon. So that's the plan for today. Now, I was rolling around the idea of what we'd like to talk about, and here's the thing. We're problem solvers. My wife and I both have managed businesses and things like that for years off and on when we were working all the time. And so we have a background in problem solving. And anyway, I asked her, I said, what would you like to hear me talk on this week? She said, I would like to hear you talk on how to resolve conflicts between people. And I said, that's a good subject. So this week I've spent some time just thinking about that, meditating on it, doing a little bit of research on it. Though I've handled conflict between people a lot in my career, it's one of the things that I've been very successful at. So I do have some things I'd like to say about it. But let's just go ahead and get started. And we're going to look at it. These techniques will work in pretty much any kind of conflict you got. Now, sometimes people have conflict in their marriage. Sometimes people have conflict in their business. And the basic concept to solving these is pretty well the same thing. So you can use this in a lot of different areas in life. You may have conflict with your neighbor or whatever the case may be. But there's different methodologies, different personalities when you're handling conflict. I want to start out with the avoidance personality. Conflicts come and people think, well, I don't like conflict, so I'm just going to walk around it. I'm going to avoid it. I'm not going to deal with it at all. Now, that's one methodology that people use, but here's the problem with that. As a general rule, and this is a general rule, not always, there are exceptions to every rule, but the general rule, when you start avoiding conflicts, they just grow. They don't get any better. And even if they don't grow, they tend to just happen over and over and over again. Somebody treats you a certain way, you try to avoid them. The next time you get around them, the same thing happens again, and it can hurt you. It can hurt that relationship. So avoiding conflicts is not really a solution to managing those problems. So let's think about it in another way. Sometimes people look at conflicts and they just, well, I'll just compromise. Now, compromising is not wrong in and of itself, but if you compromise to where you don't get your way and the other person gets their way, and you're just offering up compromise, or even if they compromise and you both compromise to the point that you leave the situation, you're not happy with the outcome of it. That's not good. Now, I'm not going to say compromise isn't a workable solution to a problem. It can be sometimes. And there are problems that really you have to compromise on, depending on the people you're working with and that sort of thing. I did a lot of teamwork. I worked in the R&D part of a company for several years, and you do a lot of teamwork, and you'd compromise some things, but some things you just can't compromise. The trick is understanding what you can compromise and what you can't. So it's not an invalid way of handling it, but it's not the best way of handling it. Now let's talk about another thing, and that is dealing with a very dominant person that just decides they're going to have their way in any argument you're in. That it's not a matter of whether they're right or wrong. They just want to win the argument. And if you're that person, I want to say to you this morning, stop being that person. That kind of personality is just wrong, and it hurts people, and it doesn't get things done. Now, I've dealt with people like that, and I have actually removed them from projects that I were on because they couldn't get anything done. They disrupted the team. They were egotistical and just demanded that everything go their way. That's not, that's, to me, when you got a person that's just super dominant, as a general rule, you can't work with that person because he'll destroy the team, he'll destroy the project, or at least hamper it to the point that it's not successful. So, having said that, the dominant personality is, if you're one of these guys or you're dealing with a dominant personality, it might be that you want to do away with that relationship. You may want to just back off from it and get away from it, maybe permanently. Don't know. People can change. I don't see them change much, but people can change. But anyway, the dominant mode of operation is not a good operation at all. And I could go into a lot of stories on this, but I'm not going to this morning. And then there's the the better way, as far as I'm concerned, is the collaborate, where you collaborate on solving a problem. And I want to talk just a little bit longer on that than I have the others. The others are not that they're not legitimate, but they're just not the best way to handle problems, solve problems. Collaboration to me is the best way to do it. Now, this is where you decide what you need out of the to solve the problem, what your ideal of winning over this problem, or finding a solution to it, and you look at that and you ask yourself, what does this mean to me? Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, you might say, well, it's an 8 for me for this to work. And so just say you got one more person involved, not a whole team. Now, we could talk a lot about that, and team deals are fun, but let's just say you got another person, and you need to think about in your mind how important it is for you to give them as much as what you can. And you say, how important is their part of this to me, to give them what they need out of this? And you may say, well, it's a 6, or maybe it's an 8. Find a metric that really kind of tells you the importance of this to you, for your part, and for your part to get them what they need. Now, if you're at an 8 and they're at a 6 or 8, that's great. That means you have some incentive. You're taking some ownership to solve this problem, and that means when you get it solved, well, actually, you're going to be working towards solving it to each person's benefit. And as you work towards solving it, collaborating with each other, taking ownership, getting your person you're working with to take ownership to help solve this problem, then what really happens for you is that you will open up a lot more avenues of thought to collaborate and deal with this problem, because you both got something to gain, and if you don't solve it, you both got something to lose. And you're putting importance on both parties, not just one. Dominant people put importance on, I just want to win. That's all there is to it. Collaborative people say, I want everybody to win. And this is really the better way of approaching problem solving and solving conflict between people. Say I'm trying to think of an illustration here, but say you're working on a kitchen remodel in your house, and we've done this in pretty much every room in our house at one time or the other, and still have some to do. But I look at it, and I may look at it and say, you know, the let's change it just a little bit. Instead of the kitchen, let's work on the bathroom. Now, bathrooms to me, I don't care. So that didn't go high on my metric scale. A bathroom would reach about a 3 to me, but now to my wife, it might reach 10. So when we start working on the bathroom to keep from having conflict, I've already decided how important this is or is not to me. But I've also looked at how important it is or is not to her. In her case, it's very important. So basically, we talk about it, and the only thing when we're talking about remodeling, and we're doing a little of that right now, when we talk about restructuring our bathroom and changing it the way we want it, I listen to her intently, but I have to deal with the mechanical part of it. I have to deal with the physical part of it, putting in plumbing and things like that. So I do have an invested interest in, as we design it, I want the mechanical or plumbing part of it and things like that, and electrical part of it, I want it to make sense. So as we talk about it, I listen to what she wants to do, and in my mind, I think about what that's going to take to do that. Now, this is collaboration. It works very well, and we've already come up with a pretty good plan, but I wanted to give her as much of what I could that she wants, but at the same time, I have to deal with some things just not a good idea to do them certain ways because of the plumbing and electricity problems that arise from that. So I tell her what that's going to cost. She changed her plan a little bit, and we just go back and forth till we finalize a plan. Now, if you switch gears here and you talked about the kitchen, whole lot different deal because I like to cook. And so I'm going to have a whole lot more input on how we want to do the kitchen. And she does the most of the cooking. So she has an invested interest. And so our collaboration sometimes has to go a lot farther to get us both what we want. And sometimes you can almost go down to just out and out compromising. Not a bad deal, but if you can collaborate, it's better. Try to get everybody what they want if you can, or at least as much as you can. So we're actually talking about redesigning our kitchen, and we're doing it over a period of time because we don't want to tackle it while we still working on the bathroom. But long and short of the whole thing, we're going to collaborate together, and to avoid conflict, we're managing what we're doing. We're both looking at, and that's pretty easy for my wife and I because she's managed and I have too. So we understand how you keep conflict out of working out problems is you try to understand what the other party needs or wants out of that, and you try to give them that as much as you can. But now, as I said, the kitchen remodel is going to be more important to me than the bathroom remodel. And you can go on, bedrooms, living rooms, whatever, yards. Now when it came to the shop, and I've built two or three shops here on the place. When it came to that, she didn't put much input in because she didn't really care a whole lot about that. She let me do that pretty much the way I wanted to. But anyway, the whole ideal is turn it into a win-win if you can. Get along with your spouse or your business partner or your work partner, whatever the case may be. I'm going to try to sum this up to where I leave you with something and it actually helps you. Here's the deal. Try to turn it into a win-win. Try to listen to your other partner or partners, teammates, whatever the case may be, with it in mind to help people to accomplish the goal, establish that goal, and then work together, collaborate to accomplish that goal. All right, guys, we here at the Porch love you guys, and we do these little old videos with hopes that they'll help people and cause people to be able to look at problems in their life in a different way and maybe come up with a way of managing those problems to where they can be successful. But having said that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up. May God bless and have a good day.